Hello, good morning everyone. Warm welcome to babycode free TOEFL sessions. I'm Tanu Vermani, an IDP certified trainer and the TOEFL and TESOL certified trainer. So today we are beginning with our live session number 17th and we are covering our speaking module. Speaking task 1 was about independent speaking. Speaking task 2 was about integrated speaking. And question number 3 and 4 of the speaking module is also again about integrated speaking, but that will be of different context. So candidates who are new to watch this session, please go back to speaking session 1 and 2 and then watch this session, right? Total TOEFL sessions that we have covered is 16 and today is the 17th session. Reading sessions are already completed and uploaded on the YouTube as well as on the babycode application, and listening sessions as well, right? So let's start today's session. What is integrated speaking task 3? That means question number 3. So the third task of speaking session here, that is integrated speaking, it deals with academic. Whereas if you look at the back, like when we did integrated speaking, second session, it deals with campus related talks, right? But here it is academic. Just like many questions and tasks in other sections of the TOEFL test pattern, you will be reading a short passage here, which is about 80 to 100 words long, and it will be an academic topic, right? So first you will be reading a passage 80 to 100 words, and then you will be hearing a lecture, right? A lecturer will be giving you few examples that support the topic of the passage, and your task would be that you will be required to give a short talk that summarize the lecture. So basically in integrated speaking, first will be a reading passage of 80 to 100 words, then a lecturer, that means a lecture will be there giving you free example that supports the topic. You are required to give a short talk that summarize the lecture. So reading time will be 45 seconds. That lecture will be for about 1 minute. Preparation will be 30 seconds and response will be 60 seconds. You will have an example of the audio clip. Then text 1. Read a passage from biology textbook. You have 45 seconds to read it. So this will be a text. And then arrive your question. Explain what mitosis is and how the professor uses the example to illustrate it, right? So this is your question, audio, and then a reading passage, and you have to summarize. Now, what about integrated speaking question 4? Now, this is the final task. We have 4 tasks, right? Independent speaking, integrated, question 2, integrated, question 3, integrated, question 4. Now, this is integrated question 4. Now, what happened here is you won't be having any reading passage here. You will only be required to hear a lecture. The lecture will be about for 2 minutes. Once you hear that lecture, you will have 20 seconds to prepare, and then you have to respond your answer. You have to give a short speech concluding the main ideas of lecture, right? And that will be for 60 seconds. So what you're supposed to do in the integrated speaking question 4, you will be required to hear a lecture. Then you have to give a short speech where you have to conclude your main ideas of the lecture, right? Next is example. So you will see an example that only audio will play, and then your question will arrive on the screen. Using the points and example from the lecture, explain the concept of opportunity cost, both in an economic and day-to-day context, right? The speaking section of the TOEFL test, that's specifically 3 and 4 I'm talking about, these are all about academic courses. The context is academic, right? Now we will look at how the questions are structured, what they are asking, how you are going to approach the questions, and how your responses will be scored. And we will look at some of the tips also that how you can improve your speaking skills. So once again, question number 3, that means integrated task 3, you will read a passage on academic subject. Then you will listen to a part of lecture at the same subject. You have 30 seconds to prepare for your response and 60 seconds to speak your answer. Question number 4, you will only listen to a part of lecture. You have 20 seconds to prepare for your response and 60 seconds to speak your response, which will always be a summary of the lecture. Now let's look more closely at what these academic questions look like. Now, when you have question number 3, reading passage will be an important academic term or concept that might be found in a first year college textbook. So, for example, a science reading might explain what a ketone species is. A reading from psychology might describe what it meant by emotional intelligence. So, in this example, the passage is about flow. You have to look for a flow. The listening passage will be from a part of lecture about the same topic as the reading, right? So I think this will help you so that you can get a picture of what a textbook is describing. In the lecture also, you will hear details about the example of term and concept. This is most important. Now see this. I remember passing by a classroom early one morning just as he was leaving, and he looked terrible. His clothes were all rumpled, and he looked like he hadn't slept all night. And I asked if he was okay. I surprised when he said that he never felt better, that he was totally happy. He had spent the entire night in the classroom working on the mathematical puzzle. He didn't stop to eat dinner, he didn't stop to sleep, so he worked furiously all night. Covered the blackboard in the classroom with equations and numbers and never realized that time was passing by. So, when you're going to answer the question, you will speak about how the example supports or illustrate the terms or concept, like in this question about the flow. So, you have to explain and how the example used by the professor illustrate the concept. This is your question. Explain flow and how the example used by professor illustrate the concept. This is your question here. You have to explain flow and then you have to explain the example also. For question 4, listening passage in a excerpt from an academic lecture on a single topic. So usually it starts with the professor either defining a concept or highlighting an issue. So human beings are not the only animal that use tools. It's generally. Now, then it will have examples that going to help and clarify the issue. And in fact, there are two competing definitions, a narrow definition. So question will ask you that you have to explain the main concept or issue using that points and example that was given in the lecture, right? So basically, it's a very straightforward summary. So see the question 4 about tools. This is the question. Using points and example from talk, describe the two definition of tools given by the professor. So it's a very straightforward summary, right? This kind of question will be fourth one. Now some of the tips how to approach these kind of questions. So you have to be very careful when you approach these kind of questions. The number one tip is the topic for these questions can be varied from fields like life science, social science, physical science, history, art, literature, right? So it's important that you practice with academic text. Questions that are designed, you don't need any prior knowledge in field to answer this question. Even though your question is about academic topic, but they're not testing your knowledge about the topic, they are testing your English, right? Second is you are allowed to take notes during the test. So during the listening passages, write down few keywords or ideas on any of your scratch paper. Use the preparation time to review your notes and then you have to prepare your response, right? So be careful whenever you start taking notes. Number 3 is if you finish your response before time runs out, don't repeat yourself. just because you want to fill your remaining time. No. Say something that clarifies, develops, or elaborates your response. Practice timing yourself, right? Get used to the amount of time you have to answer, like 20 seconds for preparation, 60 seconds to uh, give your answer, your short speech, right? Now, whenever you are going for a test, make sure you know what your evaluators are looking for, what your raters are looking for, how you will be getting this scored, right? So your scores are scored from like 0 to 4, right? So let's look at that there are some variations depending on the questions, and rater will be looking for three main things. First is delivery. Your speech, it needs to be clear and fluid with good pronunciation. The pace or speech should be natural and should have good sounding intonation patterns, right? Second is language use. This is mainly how you use your grammar and vocabulary to express your ideas. Third is topic development. This is mainly how fully you answer the question, how clearly you express your ideas, and how you can connect one idea to the next in a way that is easy to follow. So you are able to connect your ideas, your flow of ideas is clear or not, it is understandable or not. So these are the three main things that the raters are looking for. Now let's listen to an example. This is an audio example. And this example got a score of 3 on a 4-point scale. So, see this example. The passage is talking about general information about the flow, and the professor illustrate an example of that. He said he met a friend of who taught physics, and 3 years ago he accidentally met his friend. He found that his friend's clothes were all rumpled, and he asked him he's okay. And he said the friend said he was so concentrated on the mathematical puzzle that he didn't sleep or rest, and even so, also he didn't actually eat. And actually, he thinks that his friend came across to the mathematical puzzle and he couldn't realize that the time was passing by. His friend actually was in the flow. Now let's look at this response, right? According to three main criteria: delivery, language use, and topic development. So if you look at delivery was clear. He was clear with good pronunciation. He is talking about general information about the flow and then illustrating an example. But if you see that somewhere it is little choppy and hesitation also, he has interrupted the flow of speech. Met a friend who taught physics. So here he has interrupted his flow, and there are repetitions and hesitations also, right? Second thing is, if you look for language use, vocabulary was fine, grammar was also fine, concentrated on the mathematical puzzle, he didn't sleep. That is fine. But delivery here, he interrupted his speech, intonation pattern. Topic development, he does give an accurate summary about professor's example, right? He never really explained what the flow is. So he missed out on the first part of question, flow. The first part was flow and then professor's example to illustrate. So he needed to explain the flow, right? Then he need to explain how example illustrated the concept. So overall, this response got a score of 3 out of 4. So you have to be very careful that whenever you speak, you have to speak according to 3 criteria: delivery, language use, and topic development. So some activities which can help you build your scores, your skills for integrated speaking tasks. First one is develop your academic vocabulary. You should be reading academic text also for practice. So keep a list of important new words that you find and practice pronouncing. Second is read a short news article. Record yourself summarizing it. Create a transcript of recording by writing down what you said. Review the transcript. Think of other ways by saying the same thing. Third is find textbooks in English that include study questions at the end of each chapter. Practice answering questions loud. Start with subjects you're familiar with and move on to the less familiar questions. Fourth is if you're recording yourself, collect your recordings in an audio journal. Ask your English teacher to evaluate your recordings using the TOEFL speaking rubrics, right? So there are a lot different ways also. Whatever you do, keep practicing and start practicing from the first part, right? So always start with the first one, that is independent speaking, integrated speaking 2, integrated speaking third and fourth. Go to the YouTube baby code application, watch our live session anytime whenever you are free, right? So you can watch it anytime as per your convenience. Keep practicing, keep learning so that we can also know that yes, you are able to in the journey to conquer your this TOEFL exam. We are going to help you a lot, right? Tell your friends also to watch our live sessions free of cost, right? With a very nominal amount, I would say, for a yearly subscription. Stay tuned for the next session. I'm going to cover up something new. Till then, please practice for the speaking sessions of the TOEFL, right? Bye bye. Take care, all of